Alright, let's break down this strange looking technique right here and talk about some of the surprising benefits it has when it comes to enhancing certain aspects of mobility and even decreasing pain. Now, why talk about it? Because I love creating content that can point you in the direction of living a less pain-riddled life. So in the name of helping you move better, feel better, and come back stronger, let's talk about it. Okay, so when it comes to improving mobility of your muscles and joints within your extremities, what you're looking at is a pretty cool technique that can offer some surprising benefits for the right individuals. It's known as tissue flossing, but it sometimes goes by a couple of other names such as compression flossing, voodoo flossing, and the tack and floss method. Now, it's gained some notable popularity over the past decade or so, and what's cool is that there's been enough research on this intervention to start drawing a few conclusions about its benefits. So as we go along, I'll be referencing the findings from a 2021 systematic review, which I've linked below if you do want to read the geeky details. And while there's certainly more research to talk about, for brevity's sake, I'll be recapping some of the findings from this one particular article. As we unpack these findings and talk about how to utilize this little intervention, I'll quickly mention that I've created a free PDF covering the basics of how to perform tissue flossing, so check the description below if you want to have a digital copy or a hard copy that you can keep by your side and access as needed. It's totally free, and all I ask is that you hit the like button if you feel you get something out of this video or the document itself. Fair deal? So the name of the game here is all about improving tissue characteristics around joints and within some of the other soft tissues that might otherwise be stiff or a bit gunky. These reduced tissue qualities can hold folks back from optimal movement, predispose them to injury, and lead to annoying aches and pains. Notably, improvements to tissue mobility seem to be the most prominent benefit with tissue flossing, though it also seems to offer other improvements as well, and if the technique is performed with the floss band wrapped around a joint, it can theoretically help to optimize joint mechanics. By pinning down the muscles and then forcing them to slide and move against this compression, it's believed that a shearing force is taking place within the tissues, which breaks up some of the restrictions that can impair movement quality of our muscles. Particularly, this seems to be very effective for mobilizing the fascia, which is a thin film of saran wrap-like tissue that covers the muscles. As for the joints, the theory is that compression around the joint itself can help to optimize joint movement a bit better, which again can improve biomechanics and mobility of the targeted area. Now, this one's a bit more theoretical, but when it comes to areas such as the ankle, which is packed with a ton of superficial joints, the concept makes sense, but I haven't come across any studies that really validate this. There's also some evidence to show that this technique can help reduce pain and even optimize certain aspects of physical performance, but keep in mind that this isn't a slam dunk and that there's certainly a need for more research to really fully substantiate some of these findings. Now, it needs to be said that this technique is not for everyone, as there are certain populations that are better off to forego this technique and perform different ones instead. Naturally, if you're allergic to latex, you'll want to avoid this technique or at least ensure that you're using a latex-free band. In addition to this, flossing likely isn't in your best interest if you have blood clotting issues or issues such as arterial or venous insufficiency, which is a type of condition where your blood has a hard time getting into or out of your extremities. So please check with a qualified healthcare professional if you have any questions about this, and remember that there are plenty of other ways that you can improve your tissue and joint mobility without utilizing flossing bands. There's no point in trying to improve your mobility if you're compromising your safety or well-being in the process. So the flossing technique itself is rather straightforward, which is one of the many reasons why it can be such a solid technique to perform. Additionally, you can perform it on yourself, making it a valuable intervention for those who don't have access to other professional services. You simply start by wrapping the band around your extremity once or twice without any tension to anchor it down. Then stretch the band to about 50% of its capacity and wrap the band over the target area while maintaining this tension. Once you've wrapped the area you're looking to target, just tuck the loose end under one of the previous loops to secure it in place. When you've done this, the area that has been wrapped should feel snug and feel mild compression, but nothing that is extreme or uncomfortable. If it doesn't feel comfortable, undo it and try it again with a bit less tension or slightly different placement of the band. One important point to mention here is to always wrap upwards, meaning you start further away and finish closer towards your torso. Now, the easy way to remember this is to think wrap towards your heart. The reason for wrapping in this direction is to make life easier on the one-way valves in your veins. Wrapping in the opposite direction pushes the blood in the wrong direction, which is something we want to avoid. Flossing your muscles and joints works best for active individuals who are looking to ensure they keep their mobility and performance in top-notch shape, and for those who feel that their movement in their limbs or around their joints is a bit stiff or gunky. It can also, under the right circumstances, be used to help restore mobility in later stages of injury recovery for specific types of injuries, but definitely check with a healthcare provider if you want to use this as an injury recovery intervention. Remember, there are plenty of additional ways to work on your mobility and to clean up your soft tissue health. Flossing, like any other tool, certainly has a time and place, but it isn't the only way to get the job done. The beauty with this technique that sets it apart from other self-mobilization techniques is that its mechanism of action seems to be unique to other techniques such as foam rolling and stretching, which are not bad interventions in their own right, just to be clear. As for what to specifically do once the band is wrapped up, you simply move the limb through as large of ranges of motion as you reasonably can. The movements can be anything that you'd like. You're simply looking for movements that allow you to feel a stretch or subtle tension occurring underneath the band. Once you find a movement that provides the sensation, simply perform it repeatedly for a few moments along with any other movements that provide the same sensation. If applicable, movements that target the joints above and below the site of compression should be used in addition to any single joint movements. The reason for this is to ensure that you're stimulating and challenging as much of the soft tissue as possible. There are numerous muscles and subsequent tendons that cross two joints. So by performing these types of compound multi-joint movements, you're ensuring maximal stimulation to these tissues. As a personal example, on days when I'm not working out, I tend to perform simple movements, while on workout days, I often perform a simple movement or two and also like to perform movement patterns of some of the resistance exercises I'm about to perform. It sometimes feels a bit awkward or unusual to move your extremity around with the band all wrapped up, especially if it's crossing over a joint. But again, it should never be painful. As a general rule, you'll want to keep the band on for only a couple of minutes. Chances are that if you keep the band on for longer than this, it'll become rather uncomfortable, and leaving it on for an excessively long time will do more harm than good. As another general rule, the tighter you wrap the band, the sooner you'll want to take it off. Again, a 50% tension on the band is the recommendation, which should feel like a mild compression but quite tolerable for a few minutes. You can perform this technique as often as you want, though there's probably no need to be performing it multiple times per day. For most people, the technique is appropriate to do as part of a warm-up or a cool-down series before or after a workout, either for one or multiple areas of the body, though you can also perform your flossing on days when you're not working out. Flossing a specific body part a handful of times per week is likely ideal, but everyone's needs will likely be different, so there will always be some experimentation and fine-tuning on your end to determine your ideal frequency should you give this flossing technique a try. As with most other interventions, if you want to see or feel benefits take place, it's worth remembering that it's all about consistency. A technique such as this typically needs to be performed repeatedly and at consistent intervals throughout the week to help bring about any benefits that may take place. In that regard, you'll likely need to stick with it on a consistent basis for a handful of weeks before you start perceiving any lasting benefits to your mobility or decreases in stiffness and soreness. Now, it could be that you'll feel some positive effects way sooner than this, but as a general rule, stick with it for at least 4 weeks. Now, if you thought the topics in this video were interesting or helpful, then you'll want to check out this video right here, which will cover another topic that YouTube thinks that you'll find quite interesting or helpful as well. And in the meantime, keep making great things happen.